If you want to participate, contact me at ordinarywomenpodcast@gmail.com. I'm sure you have great projects to brag about. You can also follow me and message me on Instagram at Ordinary Women Podcast, on Twitter at Ordinary Women PC, or on Facebook on the page Ordinary Women. Hi everyone, welcome to a new episode of Ordinary Women. I'm welcoming Ruth today. Hi, how are you?
Hi, good, thanks. How are you doing?
I'm good too, thank you. Really excited to have you here today. Can you start by giving us a quick introduction of yourself, please?
Sure, of course. Well, first of all, thanks for having me. So my name's Ruth. I'm originally from Scotland, but I'm currently based here in Barcelona. I've been here for the past 5 years, and before that, yeah, I've been living in a few different places, in Italy and in France. And yeah, I work at a tech school for women, trans, and non-binary folk. So basically, I work as like the general manager for the school, which is basically trying to support more women to transition into tech careers from non-technical backgrounds.
That's super cool. Can't wait to hear everything about that. And is there something unusual about you?
Ooh, good question. I think there's something unusual about everyone, right? I would consider myself as quite ordinary, I guess. Maybe just, yeah, what I was saying before, like, because I've moved around quite a bit, I think that in itself has made me quite unusual. Certainly, meeting a lot of people from different cultures, speaking different languages. Yeah, I would say that that's what makes me a bit more unusual.
So cool. I love that. Obviously, on this podcast, we talk a lot about what it's like to be a woman. So I like to start by asking, was there a moment or an event in your life when you realized that you are a woman?
Oh, yes. Well, so for context, I'm one of 3 siblings, and I have
Okay.
2 brothers. And yeah, I guess this makes sense. So when I was younger, it was like one summer, I think we were at my grandparents' house, and I have this really vivid memory of my grandpa teaching all of us how to weld, so 2 bits of metal, how to basically weld them together. And both my brothers got to have a go. They got to practice doing it, and I just have this really vivid memory of not being allowed to do it. And the reason I wasn't allowed to do it was because I'm a girl. And even though I was so young, it's probably because I was too young. It totally makes sense. But at that time, I was like, this just doesn't seem fair. Like that's the first point when I realized I was different from my brothers, because the only reason I couldn't do this and like be like involved with like what my grandpa was doing was because basically I'm a girl.
Oh my God, I'm so sorry. That's also
Yeah.
because it sounds so fun to do. And it's
That's
like,
yeah.
being
I
deprived
think
of fun as a child is like the most annoying thing. I mean, even as an adult, I live for fun. So, like, let me
exactly.
do it.
I still have, I mean, I was definitely very young, but I still have this uh like I still remember the frustration I had of just not understanding why I
Yeah.
couldn't participate in this like activity that they were all getting to do. And I just have this really vivid moment of my grandpa being like, no, no, little girls can't do this or something like this. And probably, yeah, it was dangerous, so I totally get him. But also it was the first moment I was like, well, I'm not the same as my brothers.
Did you ever do that later in life? Did you ever get to try?
I think I was unlucky. Like I've always been the type of person that kind of throws myself into different things. I think I've never actually welded something. This would be something I want to try, but certainly similar things. Yeah, I've always been up for trying to get involved where I can.
Yeah. Oh, well, I'm glad that you have that spirit at least. And did you grow up with any women role model?
Um, I would say not really, to be honest. I mean, apart from the obvious ones, like obviously, I mean, I'm lucky. I come from a very loving family, like my parents, my mom, my grandmother, cousins, whatever. But like in terms of role model, I was trying to think, and really, I can't think of someone that I looked up to that was outside of like my family circle. Which is unusual as well because I was quite heavily involved in different sports when I was younger. So, like, was also in touch with a lot of female athletes and stuff like this. But I can't think of any names or any like female athletes that I looked up to at the time. And so, yeah, not really, to be honest.
Yeah, that's really interesting. And what about now then?
Now certainly there's well, lots of, if we're just talking about female role models, I mean certainly when I was younger there was like general role models, I guess male role models like teachers that I can definitely think of.
Yeah.
But now certainly there's a few like female role models, and there has been throughout my life, and I would say like career but also like personal life as well. Um, one for me, it sounds a bit cliche at the moment, is actually my boss. She's like a female CEO, founder, mother as of 2 days ago. But yeah,
Congratulations to her.
for me has always been kind of like a mentor figure as well. And so certainly if we're talking about role model and professionally speaking, then she's someone that I would point to as a role model.
I love that. What do you think she teaches you?
I think, I mean, certainly if we're thinking about this mentorship role, like it's really important that anyone that's in the well, certainly from her side, just seeing the whole process of starting a business. I can give you a bit of context first of all. Like I've been there very much since the beginning of when she came up with the idea of building Code Up, which is the school that I work at. And the nice thing about it is I mean, she hired me off the cuff, kind of because she needed someone. She actually, I mean, it's another story. I don't know if you want me to tell it now, but she met me in a bar and basically offered me a job from that. So there was
Oh
no
my God.
official job interview process, but
I love that.
really showed trust in me from the beginning. But also, I mean, she was going through the process of building a business, and I think what's been really nice is involving me in a lot of the process, because this has helped me grow as well, professionally speaking. And then from another side, I would say a skill that she shows, and I think it's really important, is like empathy towards other people, and as a boss, but also like as a friend. And I think it's been really nice to just have that constant support throughout as well, and see the way she treats others, and also wanting to replicate that with now, for example, the teams that I'm managing, the customers that we're speaking to, like wanting to be able to replicate what she does to me internally to everyone that we have externally.
That's so interesting. She sounds awesome. I love that.
Get her on your next podcast.
Please. And do you think that the lack of representation of women in society had an impact on you growing up?
So I was thinking about this the other day because someone was asking. I mean, a lot of what I do in my day to day is like talking to companies and about how they can get more representation in their teams and stuff like this. And actually, for me personally, growing up, I don't. I mean, I come from the UK. I think we were always kind of given a lot of fair opportunities to be involved in different things. But I was thinking of like specific things that I was involved in, and actually, like I can give you some examples. But when I started them, there were no women or girls involved with these activities. But then by the time I left, there was like core groups of women there. So I don't know if it's a generational thing or an age thing, or if there was some factor of I went along with a bunch of friends and suddenly I saw the change. I was part of that change. But to give you an example is, so I'm from Scotland, and it's quite common where I'm from. We have a pipe band, so like traditionally with bagpipes, and it's common that the children in the town would join the pipe band. And when I joined, I was 8 years old. I went with one friend, and there were no other girls in the band. It was just me and my friend. But we stayed in that band for 10 years, and basically in our final few years of being part of this pipe band, there was about 50% representation of girls versus boys in the band. And I really think
Oh.
that was like breaking down stereotypes of what you traditionally would think of a pipe band as being. I mean, it was only the men that would participate in this, and we would go to competitions, and actually we won a lot of competitions. And we kind of became known as like we were the drummers. We weren't actually playing the pipes, but we were all girls in the band, and we went on to kind of win quite a few competitions. So this is just like one of the examples I was thinking of. Like when I started at 8, there was not a single girl there, and then when I finished at 18, it was 50% representation from there.
I love that. And yeah, when you said that, yeah, you don't know if it's representation, generational, if you gave representation, I'm sure it's like, I'm sure it's a bit of all of this, and I'm sure that you've inspired other people and also made their parents know that it was okay for girls to do that.
Yeah, I think it's like a combination of all these things. Is again also with sports. I mean, like a lot of the sports clubs I was involved with was like doing male, let's say male dominated sports, but then quite quickly we became like could like for example at my school we started the first female football team, and yeah, I think it took a community of people to get there. But you always need those few to start by joining the boys' sessions first of all to show that there's an interest, to then get enough people involved or to show that there can be community there to actually to start a girls' team on that side as well.
Definitely, yeah, completely. Look at you being a precursor. I love it.
I don't know about that.
It's really, really cool. Do you still play the drums?
No, so that was really just 10 years of my school life, from 8 to 18. That was kind of just part of that. And as soon as I finished school, I was like, never again. It was amazing. I loved it. It was a massive part of my life, but very, very Scottish, let's say. And you can't play drums without bagpipes, so I really needed some pipers
Yeah.
in my life to continue.
That makes sense. Thank you so much for sharing. I'd like to jump on kind of the second part of this podcast and talk about, project, life experience, achievement, call it however you want. That you want to talk about and that you're proud of. So what do you want to talk to us about today?
Sure. So I think, I mean, although this is not like my project, like I mentioned before, it's kind of something I've been working on for the past 4 or 5 years. Certainly with what we're working on here in Barcelona, and it's called Code Up. It's this tech school for women, trans, and non-binary folk. So to give you some context, basically, my boss, she was a data scientist, came to Barcelona, was working as part of a team of data scientists, and was really sick of the fact that like there was a lot of bro culture in her team, didn't have any female role models to look up to, was quite quickly kind of burnt out of what she thought was going to be a really kind of exciting, intellectually stimulating career because she didn't have any like companions within that, let's say. And so created this idea that maybe she could start a school for people that were wanting to transition into tech, but basically a community of women that are facing something similar, and like showing them that they could actually get into tech as well.
That's so cool. I love it. Yeah, that's amazing. So, and yeah, you mentioned that you met her in a bar and that she offered you a job. Tell us more. What happened?
If I could leave any advice to anyone is less CVs, less sending CVs, and more going to bars to have a drink.
More pints.
More bars, more wine.
This is so like Great Britain.
Yeah. And actually, it's like I have to say that this was actually advice that didn't come from me. It came from someone at university.
No way.
When I was at uni, I really wanted to become like a diplomat or like work for the United Nations or something like this.
Oh, cool.
And I remember like in my third year at uni, we went to this event and it was like there were going to be these representatives from the United Nations and they were going to tell us everything we had to do to get in, basically. And it was like sold out because basically that's what everyone wanted to be. And I don't remember anything about the talk, but I have this really vivid memory that the person that turned up to the talk at the end, they were like, if I can give you any advice, it's don't study so hard and make sure you also go to the bars, because basically saying like the soft skills that you build is just as important as the hard skills that you'll need to pass the test or to get into that job or do well in that job as well. So it's not actually advice from me, but it worked for me because I was unemployed. I was here in Barcelona. I decided to leave my previous role and quite frustrated, wasn't sure what I wanted to do, and happened to have some friends visiting for the weekend. And I went to meet them in a bar, and it happened to be that they had friends in common, which in the end, friend of a friend, let's say, was my now boss. And she always jokes that basically she remembers me kind of walking in and just kind of like, I don't know, picking up a glass of wine and sort of like stealing the conversation. And she's like, I need somebody that can come in and talk to future students and kind of manage the student part of the company that she was building and just like the client side, let's say. I mean, we didn't really talk that much that evening. But the next day, I woke up and kind of had a text message from another friend that was passing my number on to another friend and was like, oh, by the way, one of the people that was there last night, she wants to invite you for an interview. And so the next day I went for an interview to work as, the position had no name, it was just to help, I think was the role, because that's how it is in startup world. And that quite quickly turned into, I mean, I'm still here 4 years later and the general manager of what's a thriving startup. So moral of the story is, go to the bar.
Go get that pint. You might get
You might get the
out of
job.
it.
Yeah.
I love that. But also, yeah. Oh, sorry.
No, I was going to say the amount of CVs that I had sent and not had any replies at all, and then to just not send anything and turn up and get a job and the interview like that is, yeah, it was quite different.
Yeah, I'm currently looking for a job. Maybe I need to like set my computer down and go to the
Go
pub
to the bar.
instead.
Yeah.
That's so cool. I love that story. And also, yeah, I mean, I guess we always hear about how important to like have your network and like networking and blah blah blah, but that's when it actually makes sense. Like your stories like that, it's like, yeah.
Yeah, I think there's networking and there's like actual genuine networking where it's people that care about you and they want you to, or people see the good in you and they want to go with that.
Yeah.
Whereas you have networking, which can be very like high, I don't know, like superficial kind of level, like of just, I don't know, not being able to actually get to know someone properly for who they are.
Yeah. No, that makes complete sense. Like, I don't know how to phrase that. Like, yeah, just meeting people to meet people and to say like, yeah, I know a lot of people.
Collecting contacts, right? It's
yeah, exactly that. As opposed to like actually talking to people. And yeah, I went to my first networking event a few weeks ago, and I was surprised that people were nice. No, but like, yeah, it was actually really nice to like meet people. It was a like women networking event and from a charity. So it was, yeah, a lot of like really good people, and so like actual connections is just so nice.
Yeah. I think you'd be surprised as well, like people actually they want to get to know you or want to help you as well.
Yeah.
As long as you're in the right circle.
Completely. Even with this podcast, there's always a moment when we talk about work and when I'm like, oh, well, I'm looking for a job. The amount of people who have told me, oh, let me add you to that group. That person is looking for, look in this company. I can recommend you, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, you don't know me, I mean, like we've had a 5 minutes chat.
Conversation, yeah.
Oh, nice. I love people. I love people. Yeah. Coming back to your project, so then what happened? So like basically, I guess that you really much helped her creating it, right? Because you mentioned that she had the idea, but nothing was done, right?
More or less. So I came in after the first year, and so basically there had been two what we call cohorts, so classes of students that had basically tested out the curriculum, and we managed to prove that there was an interest in it and that people could get jobs after doing these intense courses. And so that was in 2019 that I joined, and then I mean quite quickly the company grew from there. I mean, just like any startup, I think. There was a lot of momentum at the beginning to like everyone has a lot of ideas, and basically we managed to start rolling out different programs and really attracting women. So we say women plus, so women, trans, non-binary folk from all over the world that were interested in switching careers. And I think it goes back to the question that you were asking before, like a lot of people I speak to now on a day-to-day basis are in careers that maybe they picked because at the time they didn't have the exposure to like STEM subjects, or they didn't have the role models that were in those classes. I mean, even in my case, I mean, I definitely went down the social science route, and it's not because I couldn't do the STEM subjects. I picked physics in one of my last years of school, and I was the only one of two girls in the class. And so these types of things at the top of the kind of like when you're a child, top of the funnel, let's say, have then led to these women now wanting to change, or they're frustrated with their careers in their 30s or late 20s and looking for something that's more stimulating. And so, yeah, it's been really nice because we've basically got people joining us from all over the world. I think the pandemic kind of helped in that sense because our courses moved online, which just opened up the opportunity to meet people from all over. And now we have hundreds of people studying with us. They're like mothers, people that have transitioned from being like dentists to developers, or like security guards. Honestly, I've seen every single transition into tech, and like I've met really like superhuman women just doing amazing things.
That's so cool. I love it. And yeah, I guess, yeah, coding like really grew. I mean, I don't know if it's just because it wasn't aware it was a thing before a few years ago, but I felt like really grew these past years.
Yeah. Oh, I think this is another thing is like, I mean, computer science was always a degree that was probably an option for all of us, right? But it wasn't
Yeah.
well known. And I think there wasn't a connection between like, what could you do if you had a computer science degree? What does that actually mean? And then obviously with the pandemic, a lot of things moving online accelerated the need for more developers, but also more data scientists, more product managers. I mean, really, it just created a lot more roles within the tech industry. And I think the nice thing as well is any job these days is changing quite fast, in the sense that, like, for example, you can't just be a coder, you can't just have that skill. It's actually more attractive to have maybe years of experience in like marketing or understanding how a business works, because then you have the transferable skills of that plus your ability to code, which makes you kind of like better in your job than maybe if you just came from a pure coding background as well. And so I think we're seeing that with a lot of the roles these days, is they're changing with the times, that you're actually having to have like really cross departmental skills, and this is what's helping a lot.
Yeah, that's so interesting, honestly. It's so, yeah, it's so fun. Like, work is so funny. But no,
Yeah.
it's like really like the job and work world is really particular.
Yeah.
Um,
What
yeah.
I was gonna say, one of the things that I've seen that's been really nice is like bringing together like women from all over to build things. So part of what we do in our courses is like they have to build their first ever project. So like, to break it down or to simplify it, it's like building your first website, let's say. And
Fun.
one of the interesting things, and I swear this is like social impact on like a really micro level, and so if you could replicate it in the world, it would really make a difference. But like all the projects that our students
Mhm.
seem to build are always like answer solutions to kind of real world problems, in the sense that I don't know, they've built, I don't know, in the pandemic, someone built an app to locate all the green spaces near your house, so that you knew where you could go to exercise. Or a lot of people that are mothers, maybe they have like, I remember one mother, she had an autistic child, so she built an app for her to support like with like her child. She was supporting them with like reading, so it was like an app that walked them through this process. Or like, they're always apps that really solve problems that need to be solved, rather than maybe just there because like for entertainment and stuff like this. And so it always
Yeah.
reminds me that like, if you have more representation kind of women in tech roles in general in companies, think of all the really cool like, or all the problems that we could be solving with this as well.
Yeah, that's so nice. I love that. Have you ever thought, or is it in your plans to like one day have kind of a branch of that where you help people do the project for real all along? Or is it maybe not your road? I don't know.
Yeah, I mean, it's certainly something I think that could be interesting to explore, is like have, I mean, like taking on companies like problems and being able to say, okay, look, we can resolve them here within
Mm,
CodeUp. I think it's something certainly at the moment that we're not capable of doing just with the size of
yeah.
the company. But certainly more and more what we are seeing is companies coming to us and saying, hey, look, we're advertising for these roles on LinkedIn and we really want to find like more diverse profiles. But what happens when we post it on LinkedIn is we're not getting anybody that's applying. So our understanding is that there's no women developers out there. And then actually so then basically what we do is we do like I always describe myself as like the Tinder of like companies, because basically like it's in our interest that we support our students as much as possible. So we support them in getting their first jobs, and they're in companies that they actually feel like they're going to thrive in as well. And so what we do is we just like we'll match them up. So we'll say, hey, send us the job description. We'll send you a few profiles and put you together, and that way you can find more diverse profiles quickly as well.
Yeah, that's so, yeah, because then also if it's people who don't know anything about representation, have just heard like, oh, I need quotas or whatever, I guess
Exactly.
I don't necessarily, or like just want to do their part but don't know how to do. That's super cool that you're, yeah,
I think exactly
doing that.
what you said there is what's happening. It's like I think we're now living in a world where like everyone knows that there's like a gender disparity problem in general in a lot of sectors, and everyone's aware of that, but no one really knows what they can do to help. And I think, like you're saying, in some cases maybe it's just a question of like hitting quotas, but even when they try to do that, they don't know how to, because they still get like the majority of people that apply are I don't know, white males or whatever. And so it's about also like trying to support as much as possible, and to some extent we're then the experts in that area, and just making sure that we can make the process as easy as possible so that we can bring those two together.
Yeah, completely. And so when you find jobs for your students, for the students, yeah, is it a lot of companies who come to you, or do you look for companies, or like kind of mix of both?
It's a combination. So like we try to support as much as possible because we want to really make sure that the right like students are finding themselves in the right companies, and also get the word out there about what we're doing so that companies can keep coming back and hiring our students. Like, because from our side, obviously,
Yeah.
one of our key metrics is like not just training more women plus to get into tech, but supporting them so they can stay in tech. And so supporting them means helping them find a job quickly, but then also making sure that company is the type of company that will help them grow and support them. And so we kind of offer support at all different parts of the funnel, let's say. And then also there's the other side where our students will also look for companies as well. So we try our best to also look for companies and then just send our students to them as well.
Cool. And so you mentioned having, yeah, like making sure that the company is good. How do you know they're, like, I'm thinking especially we're still living in a quite transphobic world where, yeah, trans and non-binary folks might have, I mean, I don't know how it is in Spain, but I know that at my previous company, let's say, it was not so great for that. So how do you know, how do you make sure that the companies are like decent human beings, basically?
Yeah.
Normal to other human beings.
I think this is the hard thing as well, and this is a conversation I think I was having with some of the students the other day. Is like we set them up thinking, oh, like once you finish your course, because you've studied with this, like in this like nice setting with these amazing group of women, and you've had your community and stuff like this, we kind of set it up as if that's what every job's going to look like after that. And of course that's not the case. I mean, so many people I speak to that they start their first role and they've quite quickly like have to change jobs, or they leave their job because they feel like there's a bit of discrimination within the company and things like this. And I think we don't have any like power, let's say, to influence how a company like culture is going to be. But what we can do is certainly educate on that. And so what's been quite a kind of nice byproduct of what we do is I was mentioning before, is sometimes we get invited into companies, talk about, so like last week I was at a company where they were looking to kickstart kind of like a group of, yeah, like a forum for to support more women, so eventually they could reach their goal, which was to basically have like 30% representation in leadership positions in the next 2 years or something like that. 30% of women in leadership roles. And it's really nice because they do come to us to just kind of kickstart the conversation and really understand I think what we can say is like, what are the fears or what are the blockers that women might have that will stop them from moving up in their career. And we know this because we talk to them every single day. And so that's like, obviously, they're always the primary carers, or often they're the primary carers of like children or sick family and stuff like this. They might need more support, certainly if they've transitioned roles. Like they want to feel that mentorship, they want to feel that support moving up, but also like they want to have equal access to like training opportunities and make sure that they're working the roles that are going to still be there in a few years' time, because quite often it happens that they go into like technical admin roles that might disappear in a few years' time as well. So it's all these things come together to kind of, if a company can do them, then it will better support more women to stay in the company once they join.
Yeah. How did you learn about all of this? Like, was it part of your training? Was it on something that you already knew
Oh my God,
before?
no. Definitely not. I mean, honestly, like from talking to women every single day. So like a lot of my years at CodeUp have been interviewing people that are interested in doing our courses. So, and this is where I think like I'm really lucky about my job, in the sense that I just get to spend my whole day just having conversations, because in the end, they're not really interviews. It's more like finding out about what people are up to now, what their concerns are about like changing careers, and how we can support them as well. So I think I've spoken to like thousands of people that are looking to do a tech course to be able to support them into get I don't know, more better financial stability, or a remote position, or a better job in general, or just something that's more intellectually stimulating. And so yeah, definitely just kind of learned from meeting a lot of people, a lot of amazing women.
So cool. I love that. And did you face any challenges, or like what type of challenges have you faced?
Oh, definitely. I mean, the I think the very fact of being part of a startup or being part of a very young company, you have the day-to-day challenges of not being able to. I mean, you're testing and trying stuff and hoping it's going to work, but you also have to be able to pay the bills at the end of the month, and there's so many variables that can be changing all the time that you don't have the same, let's say, structure that a more established company would have. So certainly, like anybody working within a company, I mean, a young company or something that's just started, they need to be very resilient to change. And maybe you've been working on a project for ages, and then suddenly we come in and we say that's not going to work anymore. We're going to have to change it up to something else. So I think the nice thing for me, just from like a personal, like from a professional sense, is even though I've only been working in this company, let's say 4 years, I feel like the learning curve has been about 10 years experience. And so I feel like I've really had exposure to how different teams work, how a company can grow, and the different phases of a startup as well. And yeah, lots of bumps on the way, but yeah, I still feel like I wake up on every morning and I'm happy to go to work every day, which is what I was looking for when I was changing jobs 4 years ago as well.
That's so cool. Yeah, and like hearing you speaking about it, and the very fact that you came here to speak about it. Yeah, I can hear how happy you sound.
I think, as I say, for me, like it was really important to. So I studied international relations, and a lot of like my master's was around corporate social responsibility. And like, I think from the very beginning, I was always set like, whenever I find work, I want to make sure it's something in society, or like making sure that like being able to support in some way. And I think the nice thing about working where I am now is it does feel like you're making a difference, even if it's a very small change.
Yeah, and like, yeah, at the scale of the world, it might be a small change, but I'm sure that at the scale of these people's lives, it might be such a drastic and like important and amazing change for them. That's super, super cool.
Yeah, it's really nerdy, but I have a folder on my computer, and I really recommend this to anyone that just, well, for people personally, but I have it more from like our student perspective. So like I was saying before, you have a lot of people that transitioned from like being, I don't know, 10 years as a mother out of work, and now they're working in data as a data scientist. They're earning a bigger salary than maybe they've earned before, or things like this. And often they contact us maybe 6 months to a year down the line to say, hey, look, I'm working at Google now, or hey, I'm at Facebook, or sorry, Meta, or hey, I'm working for this company now. And so every time we get these emails or like these Slack messages or whatever it's on LinkedIn, I just take a screenshot and I have this folder on my computer and it's called the Happy Student folder. And honestly, like if I don't know, if every time our team are like feeling down or whatever else, I just like send them the link to that folder and I'm like, check out all these, like this is the reason why we're like working as hard as we're working, because like you are making a difference on, even if it's a small scale, to individual lives as well.
That is so cool. I love it. I was gonna ask, why are you proud of this? Yeah, I guess we touched a bit on that through it, but I don't know. Do you still want to answer the question? Why are you proud of this and of yourself for this?
I think for exactly that the small change that's happening is we're a really small team, and we're working hard and like having a big impact as well. And so I think certainly I'm proud of how far we've come if you just reflect on the past 4 years and how much more we still have to come. I mean, everybody still turns up every day with lots of good ideas and a lot of ambition to kind of keep the company growing and keep supporting more and more women. And I think our mission is not just local to Barcelona anymore. It's really like we have students all over, and I think we want to keep going in that direction.
I love that. I think we're gonna conclude our episode on this. Thank you so much. It was so interesting, and yeah, such an amazing. I didn't even ask. What's the? Oh no, you said it, but I forgot. Sorry. What's the name again of the company?
It's called Code Up.
Okay, perfect. I'll put the link in the show notes, so if anyone is interested, they can go on your website or yeah.
Perfect. Thanks very much.
Yeah, thank you so much. It was so interesting to hear you speak about it. Is there anything that we didn't talk about that you wanted to mention before we finish?
No, just keep doing what you're doing. I think it's really important to highlight all the amazing things that are happening out there and all the amazing women that are doing cool things as well. And so, I really like the idea of this podcast, and I think, keep doing what you're doing.
Oh, thank you so much. That means a lot. And same around, because what you're doing is like so cool. So yeah, can't wait to see how much more you're gonna grow and how many more people you're gonna impact. Thank you. And there is a tradition in this podcast that the guest always gets the very last word. So the mic is yours.
I'm going to leave with what I started with, which is less sending your CVs and more going to the bar, because that's always going to help in terms of supporting you with your job search as well. It's important to have social skills as well as technical hard skills as well.